Your rent is due. You check your phone. The number in your bank account just changed. Your landlord's number went up. Yours went down. But here's the thing. Nothing actually moved. No cash, no coins, no transfer of anything valuable. Just numbers changing on screens. And yet, your entire life depends on those numbers continuing to behave exactly the way you expect them to. That's not money in the traditional sense. That's something entirely different. And once you understand what it actually is, everything about the modern economy starts making sense. The inflation, the debt, the asset prices, why your grandparents' advice doesn't work anymore. All of it. For thousands of years, economies operated under a single principle. Value was real. When you paid someone, something tangible changed hands. A coin made of silver, a piece of gold. The transaction ended there, complete. No obligations, no expanding balance sheets. In ancient Rome, a soldier received 225 silver denarii per year. That silver existed. You could hold it, melt it, trade it. If Rome collapsed tomorrow, that silver would still be silver. The empire could debase the currency by reducing the silver content, and they did, but they couldn't escape physics. They had to mine metal, mint coins, and distribute them. Money creation was limited by how much you could dig out of the ground. This wasn't unique to Rome. Medieval Europe used gold and silver coins. The Byzantine solidus maintained its weight and purity for 700 years. Chinese dynasties used bronze, silver, and gold. Islamic caliphates used gold dinars under strict Quranic guidelines. Different empires, same principle. Real money had to be backed by something tangible. And this created natural limits. A king who wanted to build a palace needed gold in the treasury. If he didn't have it, he had three options: tax his citizens, unpopular and limited; conquer neighbors and take their gold; or mine more, slow and expensive. He couldn't just print money, because money was metal. But then something changed. Not all at once, gradually, through a series of what seemed like reasonable compromises. First came centralized banking, then national debt markets, the paper currency that promised convertibility to metal. Each step made the system more flexible. Each step removed a constraint that had previously enforced discipline. The gold standard was supposed to maintain accountability. A $20 bill meant you could walk into a bank and demand a 1-ounce gold coin. The bank was legally required to give it to you. This created international stability. If Britain's pound was worth $4.86 per ounce of gold, and the US dollar was worth $20 per ounce, the exchange rate was mathematically fixed. Countries couldn't manipulate currency for trade advantages because metal ratios were physical constants. But the gold standard had a problem. It constrained government spending. When World War I started in 1914, European governments needed enormous sums immediately. They didn't have enough gold. So they did what governments always do when constrained by sound money. They cheated. Britain, France, Germany, Russia all suspended gold convertibility. Citizens could no longer redeem paper for gold. This allowed governments to print money to finance the war. After the war, most countries tried to return to gold, but the precedent was set. Convertibility was optional during emergencies. The Great Depression weakened it further. In 1933, Franklin Roosevelt made it illegal for American citizens to own gold. The government confiscated it at $20.67 per ounce, then immediately revalued it to $35 per ounce, effectively confiscating 41% of gold owners' wealth overnight. Why? Because the gold standard prevented the government from inflating the currency to fight deflation. Gold was an obstacle to monetary manipulation, so gold had to go. After World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement created a compromise. The US dollar was pegged to gold at $35 per ounce. Every other currency was pegged to the dollar. Foreign governments could redeem dollars for gold. Private citizens couldn't. This made the dollar the world's reserve currency while maintaining a thin link to metal. This worked until the 1960s, when the US began printing dollars to finance the Vietnam War and Great Society programs. Foreign governments noticed. France famously sent warships to New York to retrieve gold from Fort Knox, converting dollars as fast as possible. By 1971, US gold reserves had fallen from 20,000 tons in 1945 to 8,000 tons. The US had printed so many dollars, it couldn't honor redemption requests. On August 15, 1971, Richard Nixon announced the US would temporarily suspend gold convertibility. That temporary suspension became permanent. The gold standard died, and the modern monetary system was born. What emerged was completely different. Fiat currency. Money that has value because the government declares it has value. A dollar bill is worth $1 because it says this note is legal tender for all debts public and private. That's it. No gold, no silver, just government decree and collective belief. This fundamentally changed everything because it removed all constraints on money creation. But fiat currency alone isn't the full picture. The modern economy is also debt-based, which is even more radical. In the modern banking system, most money isn't created by the government. It's created by private banks through lending. Here's how it works. You deposit $1,000 in your checking account. The bank doesn't store your $1,000 in a vault. It keeps maybe $100 as reserves and loans out $900 to someone else. That borrower now has $900, but you still have $1,000 in your account. The bank shows your balance as $1,000, and you can withdraw at any time, at least in theory. Here's the magic. The money supply just expanded. There's now $1,900 where there was $1,000 before. This process repeats. The borrower spends their $900, which gets deposited in another bank. That bank keeps 10% in reserves and loans out $810. Now there's $1,000 in the first account, $900 in the second account, and $810 in the third account. This is how most money is created today. Approximately 97% of money exists as bank credit created through loans, not physical currency printed by the government. When you get a $300,000 mortgage, the bank doesn't hand you $300,000 in cash that someone else saved. The bank creates a new deposit in the seller's account by typing numbers into a computer. The $300,000 didn't exist before you took the loan. The bank created it. And now you owe the bank $300,000 plus interest. Think about what this means. First, the money supply can expand infinitely as long as banks keep lending. There's no physical constraint like gold reserves. Second, the entire money supply is debt. For every dollar that exists, someone owes that dollar plus interest to a bank. Third, if everyone tried to pay off all debt simultaneously, the money supply would collapse. Money is created through lending and destroyed through repayment. This is why the modern economy requires perpetual growth. If lending stops, the money supply contracts. If the money supply contracts, spending decreases. If spending decreases, businesses fail, people lose jobs, the economy crashes. The system is designed to expand continuously. Stagnation equals crisis. Compare this to how lending worked in 1825. If you wanted a loan to buy land, You went to a wealthy landowner who had actual savings. Gold or silver coins accumulated through years of saving. He would loan you 100 gold coins. You'd buy the land. Over time, you'd repay 110 gold coins, the extra 10 being interest. The money already existed. The loan transferred existing money from lender to borrower. Money wasn't created by the loan. In the modern economy, when you get a loan, the money is created at the moment of lending. It didn't exist before. This creation is backed by your promise to repay, which is backed by your future labor. Essentially, modern money is backed by the productive capacity of borrowers to work and generate income to repay loans. This works as long as the economy grows. If the economy stops growing, borrowers can't repay, banks fail, and the system collapses. This leads to another fundamental difference. The old economy was based on production and savings. The modern economy is based on consumption and debt. In the old economy, economic growth came from increasing production. You grew more wheat, mined more silver, built more ships, manufactured more textiles. Wealth was created by making things. Investment came from savings. If a merchant wanted to expand his business, he saved gold coins over years, then used those savings to buy equipment or hire workers. In the modern economy, economic growth comes from increasing consumption. GDP, the measure of economic output, is about 70% consumption in the United States. This means the economy grows when people buy more stuff, even if they buy it with borrowed money they don't have. As money became abstract, production became global. And this is one of the most profound shifts. In 1825, if you lived in a village in England, almost everything you consumed was produced within 50 miles. Your food came from local farms, your clothing from local weavers using local wool, your furniture from local carpenters using local wood. Trade existed for luxury goods, spices, silk, precious metals, but daily necessities were locally produced. This created resilience. If trade routes were disrupted by war or weather, your village survived because it produced its own essentials. The economy was decentralized. A crisis in one region didn't cascade globally. The modern economy is the opposite. Production is global, consumption is local. Take an iPhone, one of the most successful products in history. It's designed in California, but 0% is manufactured in the United States. The iPhone supply chain involves over 200 suppliers across 40 countries. The processor is designed by Apple in California, manufactured by TSMC in Taiwan using equipment from the Netherlands. The screen is made in South Korea by Samsung or LG. The battery is manufactured in China using lithium from Australia, cobalt from Congo, and rare earths from China. The camera lens comes from Japan. The aluminum casing is manufactured in China from bauxite mined in Guinea. Final assembly happens in China at Foxconn factories. This global supply chain creates incredible efficiency and low prices. An iPhone costs $1,200. If manufactured entirely in the United States, it would cost over $3,000 because American labor is expensive. But global supply chains also create fragility. If one link breaks, the entire chain fails. During COVID-19, when Chinese factories shut down, the global economy ground to a halt. Shortages appeared in everything from semiconductors to furniture to automobile parts. The old economy was inefficient but resilient. The modern economy is efficient but fragile. Another fundamental difference is the role of central banks. In the old economy, central banks barely existed. The Bank of England was founded in 1694 but was unusual. Most countries didn't have central banks until the 20th century. The Federal Reserve wasn't created until 1913, and even then, they had limited power because they were constrained by gold reserves. In the modern economy, central banks are the most powerful institutions in the financial system. The Federal Reserve controls interest rates, the money supply, and financial stability for the entire U.S. economy. When the Fed lowers interest rates, borrowing becomes cheaper, banks lend more, money supply expands, economy grows. When the Fed raises interest rates, borrowing becomes expensive, lending slows, money supply contracts, economy slows. The Fed also engages in quantitative easing, a fancy term for printing money. When the economy faces crisis, the Fed creates new money and uses it to buy government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. This injects money directly into the financial system. From 2008 to 2022, the Fed created approximately $9 trillion through quantitative easing. This money didn't exist before. The Fed typed numbers into a computer and bought assets, creating new money backed by nothing. This power didn't exist in the old economy. Central banks couldn't print gold. If the economy faced crisis under a gold standard, the solution was to let bad businesses fail, let prices fall, and wait for the economy to recover naturally. This was painful but self-correcting. In the modern economy, the Fed prevents pain by printing money. But this creates long-term consequences like inflation and asset bubbles. The modern economy has also become dominated by finance in a way the old economy never was. The old economy was dominated by productive businesses. Wealth came from owning farms, factories, ships, trade goods. Finance existed, but was secondary to production. The modern economy is dominated by finance. The financial sector represents approximately 21% of U.S. GDP and controls over $100 trillion in assets globally. Finance has become larger than manufacturing. More wealth is created through financial engineering, moving money between accounts, than through producing physical goods. This has profound effects. In 1965, the average CEO of a major company made 20 times the average worker's salary. By 2024, the average CEO makes 344 times the average worker's salary. This explosion came primarily from stock options and financial incentives tied to stock prices, not from producing better products. Similarly, wealth inequality has exploded. In 1970, the top 1% owned 23% of U.S. wealth. By 2024, the top 1% owns 32%. This isn't because the rich produce more. It's because the rich own financial assets, stocks and real estate, that appreciate when central banks print money. The poor and middle class own labor and savings, which lose value to inflation when money is printed. Let me show you how this affects regular people with a concrete example. In 1925, the median home price in the United States was about $3,000. A skilled worker earned about $1,500 per year. So a house cost 2 years of income. In 2025, the median home price is about $450,000. A skilled worker earns about $75,000 per year. So a house costs 6 years of income. Why the difference? The house is basically the same building, same square footage, same materials, same function. What changed was the money. In 1925, the economy operated on sound money, limited credit, and local production. Credit was limited, so buyers needed large down payments and paid quickly. Money held value, so saving was rewarded. In 2025, the economy operates on fiat currency and unlimited credit. Houses cost 6 times income because loose monetary policy and easy credit allow buyers to borrow more, which drives up prices. Money loses value constantly through inflation, punishing savers and rewarding borrowers. the modern worker is trapped. Wages haven't kept pace with asset price inflation because wage growth is limited by competition and productivity. But asset prices rise when central banks print money. Housing becomes unaffordable not because there's a shortage of houses, but because there's an abundance of credit bidding up prices. This reveals the fundamental reality of the modern economy. It's designed to benefit those who own assets and understand how money is created, and to exploit those who only sell labor and save in currency. If you own stocks and real estate, you benefit when the Fed prints money because asset prices inflate. If you only earn wages and save in dollars, you lose because your purchasing power declines. So what does this mean for you? How do you navigate an economy that operates on completely different principles? First, saving in currency is a losing strategy in a fiat system. Your dollars lose 3 to 7% of purchasing power annually to inflation. Over 30 years, dollars lose 60% of value. Your grandparents could save money in a bank account and preserve wealth. You cannot. You must invest in assets that appreciate with inflation, or you'll get poorer despite saving. Second, productive assets are the foundation of real wealth. Stocks represent ownership in businesses that produce goods and services. Real estate provides shelter, a basic human need. Commodities like gold are physical stores of value that can't be printed. These assets retain value over time because they're tied to physical reality, not government promises. Third, debt is a tool that benefits borrowers in an inflationary system. If you borrow $300,000 at a fixed rate and inflation runs 5% annually, the real burden of that debt decreases 5% per year. Your $300,000 mortgage becomes worth $180,000 in real terms after 10 years of 5% inflation. You borrowed in expensive dollars and repay in cheap dollars. This is why the rich borrow constantly and the middle class fears debt. The rich understand inflation benefits debtors who own assets. The middle class thinks debt is dangerous because they don't own appreciating assets to offset the debt. Fourth, the system is designed to transfer wealth upward. When the Fed prints money, that money enters the economy through banks and large corporations who receive it first. These entities buy assets, driving up prices. By the time printed money reaches regular workers through wages, asset prices have already risen. You get dollars that are worth less. Asset owners got those same dollars when they still had full buying power and used them to buy real assets. This is called the Cantillon effect, and it explains why wealth inequality grows every time the Fed prints money. Fifth, develop skills that have value in both old and new economies. In the old economy, practical skills like farming, building, and making things were valuable. In the modern economy, abstract skills like coding, finance, and marketing are valuable. But if the modern economy collapses or fragments, practical skills regain value. Having both makes you resilient. Sixth, the modern economy depends on continuous credit expansion and energy abundance. If credit stops expanding, the money supply contracts and recession begins. If energy becomes expensive, global supply chains become uneconomical and production reshores, raising costs dramatically. The modern economy is optimized for cheap energy and abundant credit. Changes to either variable break the system. Seventh, prepare for potential transition back toward elements of the old economy. The fiat currency system has existed for only 53 years since 1971. That's nothing in historical terms. Gold-backed money lasted thousands of years. If faith in fiat currency erodes, either through inflation, currency crisis, or geopolitical fragmentation, the world could shift back toward commodity-backed money or localized production. Having physical assets, practical skills, and diversified holdings positions you for this possibility. The modern economy is not broken. It's just different. It operates under completely different rules than the economy your grandparents knew. It's built on fiat currency, fractional reserve banking, central bank money printing, global supply chains, consumer debt, and financialization. It creates abundance and efficiency, but also fragility, inequality, and perpetual inflation. Understanding these differences doesn't just explain why prices rise and wages stagnate. It explains the fundamental structure of the world you live in. Your grandparents' advice to save money and avoid debt made sense in their economy. In yours, it's a path to poverty. In the modern economy, you must own assets, understand leverage, and recognize that currency is a depreciating medium of exchange, not a store of value. This is not financial advice. This is an educational explanation of how two fundamentally different economic systems operate and what that means for how you build wealth, manage risk, and understand the forces shaping your financial reality. The economy isn't a mysterious force beyond understanding. It's a system with rules. And once you understand the rules, you can navigate the system successfully instead of being exploited by it. Subscribe for more.